For most, Dragapult is the king of Draft League. For newer players, however, it can be a little bit difficult to tell that just based on the stats. So, why is Dragapult considered the king of Draft? Speaking of kings though, this king needs your help. Only 45% of the people that watch my videos are subscribed, and if you are one of the unfortunate non-subs, that's okay. You can fix that right now. If you go ahead and scroll down there and hit that subscribe button right now, you can help me on my way to 3,000 subscribers, which is the end of the year goal. And hey man, if you think you're subbed, you might not be, so go ahead and scroll down there and just do me a favor and double check really quick. It means a lot, helps support videos like this, and I really appreciate you. To start, let's dissect Dragapult's stats and talk about why a newer player might not initially see why this Pokemon is so good. Dragapult has 88 HP, 120 attack, 75 defense, 100 special attack, 75 special defense, and 142 speed. The notable part of Dragapult's stats is obviously going to be the speed stat. Dragapult is literally faster than a jet plane. Fast enough to outpace pretty much anything in the meta. On top of that, it's bulky enough to actually live most hits, especially paired with things like screens or Will-O-Wisp. The only downside? Dragapult, it's pretty weak, man. Dragapult has a lower special attack stat than some heavy hitters. I'm talking, we've got some behemoths over here. We've got Vileplume, Honchkrow, and of course, this one's not really fair, Sunflora. All of these Pokemon hit harder, especially than Dragapult. It does have a respectable 120 base attack stat, but that's kept in check by the fact that it has quite literally 3 physical moves, one of which being U-turn. It has Phantom Force for Ghost Stab and not Poltergeist, so it doesn't really have Ghost Stab. And that means more times than not, you're gonna want to run Special for the immediate damage on Dragapult. However, if you constantly U-turn and use Dragapult as a pivot, that is when you can really take advantage of it. Ghost is probably the most spammable and unpunishable type in the game. Yeah, I mean, Dragapult does hit like a wet noodle, don't get me wrong, but being able to go Modest or Adamant on top of being faster than a Pokemon fan sprinting to complain about trees, it still allows it to pick off KOs with something like Shadow Ball. Dragapult often hits its checks with the classic bait and switch. It can U-turn on the normals or the fairies or the darks that may want to switch into it and put your other Pokemon in a prime position to claim a KO. Dragapult is essentially adding an entree to a side. You can have a bowl of mac and cheese, but is it really a meal until you add the chicken? The answer is no. Dragapult, great on its own, makes the Pokemon around it better. Not only that, but Pult is extremely versatile. There are a ton of different sets that this Pokemon can run, and it is very capable of being a physical attacker with this base 120 attack stat. Again, the downside of that is you learn a grand total of 3 attacks that are physical. Congratulations. Speaking of sets, here are a couple of sets that you might run into in Draft, and please keep in mind, Draft is all about creative prep and creative building, so these sets might not be the only set that you see. The first set that is more common than Rattata on Route 1 is gonna be Specs. Everybody and their mother has ran Specs Dragapult. It's pretty effective is the reason why. You can kind of just spam U-turn until there is no normal type, and then you can spam Shadow Ball. You'll usually have something like Draco for a more powerful stab option, and then something like Flamethrower for the steals, or maybe another coverage move depending on the matchup. There are also mixed DD options to take advantage. I have read this script 3 times, and I cannot remember what you are taking advantage of a good attack stat, probably. Yeah, you know what? You're taking advantage of a good attack stat. You get that speed to outspeed your Scarfers and you're going crazy. This might look something like DD, Dragon Darts, Shadow Ball, and some sort of coverage move, maybe Phantom Force or maybe Flamethrower. This set can be a ton of different items like heavy duty boots to avoid hazard chips, or maybe a resist berry like Cobra or Kasib. There's also dual screens Pult, or as I like to call it, the John Jr. Special. This set's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It takes advantage of Pult's usable bulk as well as fantastic speed to set fast screens for the rest of your team to make them take hits a little bit better. This can be light clay, dual screens, U-turn, and at least 1 stab. Lastly, the infamous Willow Hex set. Usually this set's gonna be something like Sub, Willow, Hex. You're gonna have leftovers, and then that last slot can be something like Disable if your opponent does not have a normal type, or Dragon Darts if they do have a normal type that you can abuse. Finally, the most important thing to consider when drafting Dragapult, the partners. Dragapult on its own is obviously a fantastic Pokemon, but like I said earlier, it is best when it can facilitate for those around it. So what are the best pairings for Pult? let's break it down into a couple of different roles and a couple of different types. The main things that you're going to want next to Pult are going to include fairy breakers, normal breakers, as well as hazard stack. As far as typings, Pult will really enjoy a good steel, poison, or fighting next to it, and a good normal or dark couldn't hurt either to resist those ghost types. Steel and poison are great next to Pult because they are the fairy scarers. Yeah, I tried saying fairy scary fairy 9 times. We're moving on. Obviously, fightings break the normals, and darks are gonna resist the ghost. On top of the normals, gonna also resist the ghost. Dark's probably just better. Probably just get a dark type. There's not really too many wrong answers for what Pokemon you can use to fill these roles next to Dragapult, as long as they're like mid to high tier. You don't want something like Berserker as your steel, because if you do that, you're gonna wonder, hey, why is Dragapult not facilitating as well as it should be? Well, that's because your steel type is Berserker, and you should feel bad. As far as actual roles, I mentioned hazard stack earlier. Dragapult is just simply weak enough to where it misses out on a lot of 2-hit KOs, so something like hazards is going to really go a long way for Dragapult. Don't forget the Draft League is an information game, so simply knowing that your opponent is Boots is going to go a long way. Dragapult is a Pokemon that is great on its own, but really shines when a coach can draft well around it. It may not be the best individual Pokemon, but in a format like Draft League, being a great, if not the best facilitator we have ever seen is such a unique tool that coaches can really take advantage of it and makes it one of, if not the best Pokemon in Draft League. After all this, are you going to draft Dragapult? Shout out to Kurt for editing this video. I really do appreciate him a lot. Hopefully it turns out well, man. Obviously, we're going to start having these every Sunday. So again, if you haven't already, be sure to click that subscribe button so you get notified whenever we have these. I'm sorry. I know I sound goofy right now. My voice is giving out. I am sick. I don't feel good. But I wanted to get this to you guys, and I wanted to get it high quality, give Kurt plenty of time to edit. So that's why we are where we are right now. So again, sorry I sound goofy. Next week I won't sound as goofy. I hope I got the information across, and I hope you guys got what you needed with this. Though that being said though, guys, make sure to leave some suggestions for the series down below. It could be editing, it could be things that I could do differently, maybe the way the information is portrayed, whatever the case may be. And let me know what Pokemon you want to see next. Next week has already been decided. It is going to be Urshifu. With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off. Dragapult is good, guys. This is too many words. The main things that you're going to want next to Pult. My microphone fell out of my hand. Is it better? The big draw here is that giant... I have to memorize Dragapult's stats really quick. Steel and poison will cover they'll both do it. They'll both do it, man. I promise. They'll both cover. And I hope my head didn't pop up too much. Am I giving myself too much credit? Maybe. I'm hungry. All I can think about is hungry. You can have this beautiful... Beautiful? Why am I describing mac and cheese as beautiful? Dragapult has 88 HP, 120 attack, 75 defense, 100 special attack, 80... There's no wrong answer for these types to fill... There are also mixed DD options to take advantage of the... Take advantage of what? Wow! So close. So close. 75 special defense and 142 speed. If that's bad and you need me to get out here, bust out my green screen and do them all in one take, go yourself.